Hello, friends and tarot students, fellow tarot enthusiasts. Um, this is class number 5, class number 5 in a video series about an introduction to tarot for someone who doesn't know anything about tarot and just a way to help you get started on your journey. So if some of the things I say sound basic or rudimentary, just remember that my target audience is someone who doesn't know anything about tarot. And so I hope I don't offend anybody in that way. So the last video was about the tarot suits and the energies that each suit, energies or attributes that they have, right? And one of the things that I didn't mention that I wanted to mention is that the wands are a male energy, as are the swords. Now, notice that in our modern day playing deck, these are both black, while the feminine energies, the pentacles and the cups, are both red. I just thought that was interesting. I wouldn't have made them red and black if I were creating a modern day tarot deck, but it is kind of neat that they did kind of work out that way, and it might be a way for you to remember um, uh, the masculine and feminine energies related to the tarot suits. Okay, so the tarot suits are about things that happen to us as we go along in life, right? We talked about relationships and information and money and work. These are the mundane things of life, right? And that brings us to the next category of cards in the tarot deck. They're numbered 0 through 21, so there are 22 cards, and they're called the Major Arcana. Now, the suits are called the minor. You don't need to know that to learn to read, but I thought I would throw that out there. Now, the Major Arcana is associated with what happens to us on a spiritual level, right? What's going on in heaven while we're experiencing our life down here on earth. The very first card is the Fool card, and you might recognize that as the Joker card in a regular playing deck. The Joker card is sometimes designated as the Wild card, and I think that's kind of cool because the meaning of the Fool card that gives rise to the Joker card in our modern day playing deck is starting out on something new, a blank slate, right? You can make life anything that you want it, and that's what's happening here. This Fool is kind of holding up all the symbols of the zodiac, so basically saying anything is possible. And I just think that's a neat correlation that we we'll take the Joker when we're playing with it in card games, and we'll assign it a meaning, right? We'll assign a meaning to it because it's kind of a blank slate card. So that is the first card, and I'm not going to step through all of them because that would be boring. And we're not about boring here. We're about accessing that part of our brain that doesn't like boring, that ADD aspect. Also, the Death card is a Major Arcana card. Now, you may have heard people say, oh, it's talking about a spiritual death, not a physical death. And that's true, because if it was talking about a physical death, it would be in the Minor Arcana, which is related to all of the things that we deal with in life. Does that mean that it doesn't ever mean death? No. No. Sometimes we are coping with the death of a loved one. It could mean the physical death of someone. But more often than not, it's talking about the spiritual aspects of death, the letting go of what's going on right now so that you can move on to the next step, to the next phase, right? An example of a spiritual death would be I wouldn't say job loss, but maybe quitting a job in one area and moving to a new city. You have to kind of close the chapter where you're living now, before you move on, right? There's the space in between where you pack up all your things, and say goodbye to your friends in one city and move to another. So that would be an example of a spiritual death. Um, Sometimes it's the end of a relationship, right? Um, it's, maybe it's not a breakup between a boyfriend and girlfriend or a divorce. Maybe it's just that you've kind of outgrown that person and you're no longer an energetic match for them, or you've simply learned the beautiful lessons that that person came into your life to teach you, right? And it's time to end that and move on. Those are all examples of spiritual death. So I'm going to talk about the death card a little bit. Now I want to help you understand what I'm talking about with how the major cards relate to what's happening on a spiritual level. The majors are also referred to as the trump cards. That's because whatever's happening in the spiritual realm trumps what's going on in our mundane world. Of course. You've heard it said that uh, as above, so below. And there's a scripture that what is bound in heaven be loosed on the earth. And that is, those things are absolute truths, right? So, so I had a couple of examples that I wanted to show you this is you getting married, right? That's a minor arcana card, the Two of Cups. What's happening here on a spiritual level is the Lover's card. This is a major arcana. Your angel or heaven brought the two of you together as soulmates, right? That's what's going on in heaven while you get married here on earth, right? Another major arcana card related to getting married is the priest card. Well, the priest is a physical dude who's going to perform the ceremony, but his doing that is guided by scripture and above. You notice he's pointing to the heavens. And if you took those premarital classes at church, like my husband and I did, when you were getting that instruction, that's exactly what was happening. So the angel brought you together, and now here you are getting married. These are the mundane things of life in the minor arcana, while these major things are taking place in the heavens. Just showing you how the cards interrelate the minor and major arcana. So let's try another example. This is you going out and drinking and having a good time. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But then the temperance angel shows up, and the temperance angel is about balance. And you notice that she has 2 cups. She's mixing, possibly a drink from one hand to the other. But temperance is about balance. So this angel is going to be warning you to keep your balance, right? Don't drink too much. Because if you do drink too much, you could end up here with the 4 of Cups. You can move this progression from the 3 of Cups to the 4 of Cups, and you'll end up drinking alone, right? Because the alcohol will be what becomes important to you. And then you might find yourself addicted. And here's the Shadow card. This is also the Devil card in other decks. So this gives rise to the Devil card. This is in the Witch's Tarot. So witches don't believe in the devil, so that's why the Devil card doesn't appear, but the meaning is still the same. So if you find yourself drinking too much and drinking alone, you might be dealing with addiction. And this is what's happening on a spiritual level, right? The devil's got hold of you with addiction, right? The temperance angel came along and warned you to stay balanced. Okay, heavens and below. Okay, a couple more examples. This is you getting that promotion and getting the recognition that you need, that you deserve at work. And then here's the Sun card, a major arcana. This is the 6 of Wands, a minor arcana. And this is what's happening on a spiritual level. You're coming to that place where you experience joy. Things are, the sun is shining for you. Things are going your way. right? And it's that not just an emotion of satisfaction and happiness, but it's deep-seated joy. You know, you have a feeling that that you're doing what you were meant to do, and that's what's happening on a spiritual level. Here we go. This is you trying to make a decision. You see, you have a guy here. It's the Two of Wands and two different roads to take. This is what's happening to you on a mundane, everyday, today level. What's happening on a spiritual level? You get the Hanged Man in a reading, and the Hanged Man is asking you to look at things from a different perspective, right? So he's upside down. So rather than prayer, right, you writing letters to God telling him what you want. Well, I want this road, I want that road. This is you deciding to take a different perspective and go into a meditative state and say, I'll wait. I'll wait for a letter or a message from God. And that's what this crow is doing. He's bringing the message. Okay, so this is you trying to make a decision in your life, and this is the advice or what you could be doing on or what's happening on a spiritual level, right? Could be saying that you need to stop and take pause and take a break so that that message can come to you. Okay. Another, like I said, I'm not going to step through all the cards because you can do that with your companion manual. I just want to help you understand how the majors relate to spiritual things. Here in the number 1 card, you have the Magician. Sometimes we find ourselves in a place where we think that we're not good enough, or we want to do something and we don't think that we have the ability. This card is telling you that if you're thinking that way, that you certainly do have the abilities. God's given you the intelligence, the aptitudes, the strengths that you need to do that thing that you're thinking about doing, right? And he's pointing down below, right? But he's waving his wand in the heavens, and he's making an infinity symbol with his wand. So these are heavenly bestowed gifts and talents on you with the reassurance that you can create whatever you want. You know, the magician manifests things. He brings things out of thin air. He pulls the rabbit out of the hat. And you can do that. That's the encouragement with this card. Okay, I hope that that helps you, and that you can make a little bit more sense of what the major arcana cards are about. You'll read in the books and it's going to say it's about the spiritual journey. Sure, it's about the spiritual journey, and there is a progression from 0 to 21, where you kind of gain the lesson, or you've gone through all the aspects that have strengthened those weak parts of you, and you've experienced spiritual growth. And sure, that's exactly what it means, but you're not going to go 0 through 21 all the time, right? These cards are going to be mixed up and bunched up with all the mundane things that are happening in your life. So I hope that gives you a better understanding. It did for me anyway. So, all right, we will move on to the court cards next.